Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tara's Midnight Madness. Your host for this evening will be me, Tara, from Star and Bloom. And this is your Notta podcast cast. I promised I'd be back in a couple of days, and well, folks, here I am. And I promise that this time there will be no more toilet talk. At least not for the entire duration of this particular podcast. I might crack a joke or something. You never know. But actually tonight, to be honest with you, it's going to be more along the lines of where I share all my ideas, my opinions, my philosophies, and all the advice that my adult kids don't want kind of mentality. No chaos gremlin for this night. I can't even speak properly. I'm trying to record this episode. Like, hello. No, basically, I want to be a little bit more serious tonight because I think, for a lot of us that have gone through some stuff in life, we tend to be fixers. We don't tend to be fixers. I don't even know if you have to go through a lot of stuff. Some people are just fixers. Okay? And fixing is not a good thing. No, I'm just kidding. I see, I don't know, chaos gremlin again. I don't know. Okay. How am I supposed to word this? I'm a much better writer than I am a speaker because I'm just like, I want to talk. I have some really important stuff that I want to talk to you guys about. I really do. It's just hard for me to delve into this topic because I'm feeling a little raw. Okay, like my personal life is, down the toilet. No, it's not down the toilet. I'm just frustrated with some goings on that's happening for me right now. Raising kids is a difficult thing to do. Every parent will tell you it's not easy. Okay, well, not every parent will admit to it, but it is not easy. But what people don't warn you about is how hard it is when they become adults. At least nobody warned me. It's so frustrating. It's like you see your kid heading for a cliff and they're about to dive off and you're like, what the fuck? What are you supposed to do? Just stand by and watch? Like, I don't know. And sometimes you end up having to walk away from people because the situation's just too toxic. And I don't mean like one toxic incident, okay? If you have to give it your all, in my opinion, just my opinion. And then when you've given it everything that you have and you've tried your best, then the best course of action is to walk away for your own peace and your own sanity. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Because you can't keep pouring expensive wine into a bucket that has a hole in the bottom of it. You want to fill people up that will actually get the benefit. And when you've given people your absolute all, you've given it your 110%, you've gone above and beyond, then you have to know and be okay with walking away. Sometimes it takes more strength to walk away than to stay and fight. Because knowing when to give up and to just be like, peace is really hard for some people. I'm one of those people. Like, I'm the ride and die kind of person where I have a really hard time throwing in the towel and being like, okay, I'm going to step away from the situation. And I put myself into such pain. I put myself into such pain because I don't know when to walk away. And in the last few years, and I'm so blessed because the husband I have has really taught me how to give myself permission, but I still struggle with it. It's still painful for me. It's not easy. And I tend to falsely blame myself for things that are beyond my control. And I have had to learn, and I'm still learning, how to handle those kinds of difficult situations. And it's no laughing matter. And the thing is that you have to be okay, because people will have opinions and judgments and preconceived ideas about what you do and the choices you make. But you can't live your life to please other people. And everybody will interpret your actions through their broken lenses, if you know what I mean. Everybody has their own baggage, their own trauma, their own life experiences through which they view information in the world around them. And that includes information on your actions and reactions to things. And you're never going to please people. And if you live your life to please people, you're going to live a very miserable, unhappy life. You have to be confident inside of yourself and to know that you've made the best decisions, or give the best decisions, and you've given it your best. And be okay to walk away when a situation becomes too toxic. And I've had to do that. And I had to do that in the last couple of days. And it really sucks, especially when it involves your adult children. Not all of my adult children, a couple of them. And it's really sad. And it's really hard as a parent to have to say, I'm sorry, I need to take a walk. It's not easy. And you mourn that. It's not easy. It's not something you just like, oh, I'm going to disown my own kids. No. It's not easy to walk away when the situation has become so toxic and you've done everything you can. You've tried to equip them in every way you can. You've helped them in every way you can. And there's a proverb out of the Bible I love. And it comes to my mind in this situation. As a dog returns to its vomit, so does a fool to his folly. And I don't love it, but I mean, it's real. It's true. People like to return to their own vomit, dude. Like, literally. You know, they get rescued out of a situation, and then they return to this vomity situation. And it's really hard to watch people self-destruct. It's really hard to see the cliff and to know it's there and to watch them walk right towards it. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. And it's okay to say, you know what? I can't do this anymore. It's okay. And for the last 5 years, this situation's been ongoing for 5 years. And when you've given it your all and you've tried your best and you just can't, then you have to walk away for your own peace of mind, your own mental health, your own well-being, and to just let go. And it's very hard. It's very, very hard. I keep saying the word hard. It's hard. It's hard. No, it is. It's very hard. But I know that I'll be okay. And I know that if there's a situation in your lives where you have to do the same thing, you'll be okay. Peace and joy are so important. Life is so short. And see, the thing is, especially with adult children, is that they make their own decisions. They're capable, they're allowed, they're free to make their own decisions. But when it becomes a problem is when they try to make you live out the consequences of their decisions with them. That's not okay. And that goes for anybody in your life. If somebody else makes a decision and they didn't consult you, or you didn't give them bad advice or anything, and then they want you to be constantly in bed with the consequences of their decision, that's when you need to take a walk and walk away, because that will be a toxic situation. If, as an adult, you make a decision, you are responsible for the consequences of those decisions, and you must not drag others into it. I mean, if they choose to, like, join you, that's different. But if you're consistently making, bad decisions, and you consistently, abuse them or mistreat them or whatever, then you have to know that it's okay to walk away. You, as an adult, have to take responsibility for your own choices. And that's a hard part about being a parent to an adult kid, because it's hard to walk away. I'm using the adult-kid relationship. I mean, this goes for any relationship. Learning to walk away is probably the hardest. When? I mean, if you don't try, then I guess there would be guilt and remorse. But if you've done your best, if you put your everything into it and it's not changing, then how can you continue in the situation? Because they have to feel the consequences, the weight. You can't protect people. They have to learn to suffer so they learn. And sometimes people never learn. Sometimes they do learn. My point is that you can't be afraid to say, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And it's hard, especially when you're in that parent, adult, child relationship. Because at what point do you have to walk? And I hope most of you don't know the pain of, like, I hope none of you have to go through it. And I hope that most of you don't really understand what I'm talking about. Because it's not a fun situation to be in. It's really hard. It's so hard. But that's what free will is. Free will is a bunch of people that can make their own decisions and their own choices for their own betterment or their own self-destruct. And it's hard to watch anybody you love, whether it's a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, a child, a spouse, make a bad decision that is going to cause them catastrophic, suffering. It's hard to watch that. It's not easy. But you can't fix stupid. Sorry, that was a bad joke. I'm so frustrated. Oh, life is really tough, people. And I'm 44 and I'm just understanding all these things. Maybe some of you will be like, I already knew that. Well, I'm really glad you learned it. It took me a very long time. And I'm still struggling to let go. It's not easy, man. It's so hard. And it's like the kinder or more loving or more caring or more compassionate you are, it's harder to draw the boundaries. I didn't really grow up and have any boundaries. And I've learned them much later in my 30s and 40s. And that's a really tough place to be in. And, like to be able to stand strong and say no, like I'm not going to be sweet talked or manipulated or, coerced or guilt tripped or whatever into this situation again and again. And if you've tried drawing boundaries and people aren't respecting those boundaries, like to have you in their actual life, then it's okay to say, I'll love you from a distance then, right? Because there are people out there that no matter how tough of boundaries that you draw with them, they will literally walk through it. And then what do? That's when you have to take a step back and be like, no, you're not respecting my boundaries. You're not respecting me. You're not respecting what's best for me. And it's okay. And some people might feel like they're being selfish, but you're not being selfish. You have to protect yourself, because if you don't protect yourself, then you're not going to be any good to anybody else. And for me, this is where prayer comes in. I'm a very spiritual person. I actually was scrolling tonight and this song came on. It's called Let Go, Let God or something. And it's just such a good song, man. Like, I was like, wow, I needed this. And I was like, it was talking about the pain when you've given it like your best and you have to let it go and just trust, that God's got you. Or God's got the situation. And it's okay to let it go. It's okay. And it helps me a lot. And the lyrics were beautiful. I listened to it like 4 times before I came here and started recording this. Life is really tough. It's really difficult. but you don't want to allow yourself to get sucked into cycles of endless toxicity with people. And that's a really hard lesson for some of us to learn. You know, you can be easily trapped in it because you feel obligated or you feel pressured or you feel whatever. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that have gone through similar situations, you know, and it's not something that's talked about a lot because some people feel embarrassed or afraid of judgment, or they don't know what to do, or, you know, they just don't talk about it for whatever reason. And I'm not judging that. But for me, I think it's really helpful if people actually do start opening up and talking about their experiences, because if suffering in silence is almost like pointless to me, you know, if your story can help someone else get through a difficult time, I think that's when talking about stuff is really beneficial. Because if there's somebody out there listening right now that needs to hear this message, you know, if you've given it your best, it's okay to let it go. You know, like it's okay to say, this is not working. I need to take my space. Like, I can't do this. And I think that, you know, people are afraid of judgment or afraid of letting people see the messy parts of their lives, and they want everybody to see their picture perfect worlds, but then people are suffering in silence, and that's very lonely. And I don't want to do that. And I don't want to like waste my experiences and my, you know, heartbreaks and stuff when maybe perhaps they'd be beneficial. Somebody out there goes, oh, I could relate. I'm so glad you shared. I didn't know anybody else was going through this, or, you know, it really helped me to stay positive and strong. Like right now, I'm crying when I need to cry. I'm being angry when I need to be angry. And then I'm letting those feelings go. I'm not fighting the current of my emotions. I'm just allowing it. I'm being kind to myself. I'm resting because I'm still recovering kind of from that horrible flu. And the 2 weeks, you know, helping my son. I'm being kind to myself, and I'm allowing myself to recuperate, and also from the emotional shock and the discomfort that I'm feeling as well, which, you know, plays a role in physical health. So I'm taking some time, I'm feeling my feelings, and then I'm going to pick myself up and realize that it's okay. It's okay to put yourself ahead, and it's okay to say no and protect your peace. Being loving and being kind and being, you know, compassionate is a good thing. And don't ever let anyone ever make you feel like it's your fault, you know, that you're that way and people take advantage of you and your love and don't appreciate you or take you for granted. It's not your fault. It's not. It's a good thing to be that way. And I'm not suggesting that you harden your heart. What I'm suggesting is that it's more important, especially if you're like that, to have good boundaries. And that you're not an evil person. You can't change people. They have to want help. We have a saying here I grew up hearing. I think it's Canadian, or it came from somewhere, and it's always said, is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink. And it goes the same for people in your life. You can give them all the wisdom, all the tools, equip them in every way possible. But at the end of the day, you can't force them to use them. You can't force them to change. You can give them all the good things you have, but you can't force them or choose how they'll use it or not use it. And at some point, sometimes it's absolutely necessary to walk away. And it's painful. Like I said, it's not easy. And I'm honoring that process of the grieving and then the healing. And I'm not going to stay in this place forever. I'm going to allow myself to feel my feelings, let them go, and move forward and try to find some peace. Because my cortisol levels have been spiking and spiking and spiking over the last like freaking 7 years constantly. And for my own peace of mind and my own physical health, because I do suffer from some serious health issues, I have to let it go and just trust and just let it go. And, some people are like, well, they'll come around. They'll come around. Maybe, or maybe not. That's up to them. But it's not my business any longer. I've given it my best. And it's okay to say that. And I want to give people permission that might need it to know that it's okay. And you're not alone. And there's no shame. It's not a reflection of you. I mean, in some cases, maybe. But if you care, then chances are you did the best you could with the tools you had at that moment of your life. The thing is that people think parents are going to be perfect. Parents are just human beings. And I actually just recently wrote a whole article about this, about growing up and recognizing that, we're responsible for our own happiness. There are parents out there that do some really terrible things. And I know, I've experienced it. And, there are parents out there that do bad things that didn't mean to, but they're just repeating cycles and issues and they're trying their best, whatever. There's parents out there like that too. And then there's parents out there that are really good for the most part, but they made some mistakes. And the thing is, ultimately, no matter what kind of parent you have, one of the greatest things in life is that your parents gave you life. You are alive. Your parents they gave you an opportunity to breathe. And there's a reason to be grateful, because they made you alive. There's always a reason to be grateful. And at some point, we have to stop blaming our parents for everything bad in our lives. I mean, we don't have to, but I choose to because I want to be happy. I want to be happy. And I don't want to allow things like, with my mom, for instance, did she make a lot of mistakes when I was growing up? Sure, she did. But am I going to sit there and punish her for the rest of my life, the rest of her life, and not appreciate the good she did do? No. I mean, we all have reasons. No matter how good of a parent you had or didn't have, we all have reasons to be angry. And your kids will have reasons to be angry at you. And sometimes they're justified and sometimes they're just not. But at the end of the day, we're all responsible for our own happiness. And, there comes a point where you can't blame other people for your misery. Things happen to you that are done outside of your control. Other people make choices to wound you. And the thing is that hurt people hurt people. Healthy people don't hurt people. And parents aren't perfect. They make mistakes. They're human beings. Just do the best you can. And at the end of the day, even if you're the best parent, a good parent, a parent that tries really hard, fights for their kids, you can still end up with kids that make really shitty decisions. And I know that. And I know that society, there's a lot of judgment. Oh, if the kid's messed up, then the parents did it. And that's not always automatically true. And I've seen kids that come from really messed up situations, and the kids are like honor students, graduated, have excellent jobs, and they're thriving. Why? Because it's a mindset. And that's the difference. You see it. I think a lot of kids that have to go through some really tough stuff end up being some of the kindest, most warmest, most caring, most successful people because they've had to struggle and they appreciate people around them and they know what it's like to suffer. Whereas kids that are given everything and have everything have less appreciation and they're more entitled. That's just what I've experienced. Sheltering kids from suffering isn't always a good thing, and sometimes I made that mistake. I did, and it's not like you do the things to be appreciated. You want to give your kids the very best thing. The intention was right, but the outcome is so wrong. And it makes it very difficult because they're entitled and that's not good for them. They have to struggle, and either they'll struggle young or they'll struggle when they get older, and there will be a fight in that case. So sometimes giving your kids everything isn't the best case scenario. I find that they tend to lack empathy or compassion. And giving them everything doesn't always mean material goods. You can spoil children just by your love. And that's very difficult. Love can be very suffocating and very wrong, sometimes. So, sometimes doing the opposite of what you got isn't always the best. It's finding the balance. I was so young, when I look back, and I always said, I want to do things differently. And I wasn't very good at discipline. I very much did not like to discipline. I was a talker. I tended to lecture a lot and try to explain things and talk through things. And I didn't discipline necessarily enough. And I sit there and I look, and I didn't demand respect. Demand. That's a terrible word to say. I didn't teach my children to respect me properly. And part of that was just inexperience and age. But the one thing I will say, that I did the very best I could with the tools I had, and I never stopped trying to get new tools, if that makes sense. So I really did give it my 110%. And just because something works out doesn't make it automatically your fault. And if you are a kind and caring and, loving person, sometimes you want to internalize things and blame yourself for things that simply just are not your fault. And that's a rough and tough space to be in. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. It's very awful. And I've had to really learn and, realize, okay, this isn't my fault. I did really try my best. Was I perfect? No. I'm not claiming to be a perfect parent. I was a young parent. I was inexperienced. And I was also going through a lot of my own traumas, which I did counseling for, by the way. I was in counseling because I wanted to be a better parent and teach my kids better things. I went to a lot of parenting courses too to try to figure out how to do it. And it still didn't work out properly in some ways. But it's not like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. At the end of the day, as long as you've tried your best with people, it's okay to walk away. And that's what I'm trying to say. You don't have to force yourself to be in a situation that's harmful. Physically, mentally, spiritually, in any way. It's not good for you. You're entitled to have peace in your life too. And that's what I say. You can't keep pouring expensive wine into a bucket with a hole in the bottom, because it's not doing any good. You're better off taking that wine and pouring it into a person or something where it will make a difference. And my aunt and uncle both said something to me very profound. Go where the love is. Sometimes you have to do that. Go where the love is. And I've been getting a lot of love from my auntie and my uncle. My uncle and I had a really good laugh tonight. He was so sweet. And my auntie's just been there. Very supportive, very kind. My husband, And again, if it wasn't for my husband, I wouldn't have learned a lot of this stuff. He's a very tough cookie, okay? If you're super sensitive, it can be very difficult to listen to some of the things he says sometimes. And I am super sensitive. So we used to have lots of arguments about that. But now I understand, because his words have always been proven correct. Not like 100%, but like 90%. That to listen and to trust, even though I don't always like the delivery, I can trust what he's saying. And that took many years to understand. And I know he has the best interest in heart and that he really does love me, and he's always trying to protect me and teach me how to protect myself, because he always says to me, well, I might not be there one day, so you have to defend yourself. And it's true. Because he's seen that from my track record, I tend to be weak in that way. Getting into toxic situations because I'm loving and caring and kind. And he doesn't want me to be defenseless if he's not around. And sometimes I wish he'd just fight some of my battles for me, but that's not productive in his mind. He has to teach me to fight for myself. He says, what happens if I'm not there one day? And it's true. I don't always like to hear that. Sometimes I want to be coddled. I want to be comforted. I mean, who doesn't? I want to be the damsel in distress where my knight comes and fights the beasts for me. I don't want to have to fight. I'm exhausted. It's been a long life. I've learned a lot of things the hard way, okay? I'm like tired now. No, I'm just kidding. I wish I had have learned these lessons earlier on, and that's why I'm sharing them. I hope it's of value to someone. I mean, probably for many of you, it's just a repeat of things that you already know, and you'll be like, oh, I already know this stuff. Well, that's good. That's a good thing. But for people like me that didn't know, I hope that this reaches them. I hope that this particular one reaches them. I can't always be crazy. I can't always be silly. Sometimes I have to talk about the harder stuff. And I do find that there's a lot of people just don't like talking about the stuff that happens. They find it very embarrassing. And I don't think you should be embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed to talk about this stuff. If I'm not embarrassed to talk about poo and diarrhea, then I'm not going to be embarrassed to talk about the struggles I have to go through. I have to be careful with how I word things because I don't want to give away other people's personal information, but I have a right to talk about how it affects me. And that's why I don't give a lot of details, because I don't want to harm anyone. I don't want to spread rumors about anyone, but I do want to talk about things that I think could be beneficial for other people that are going through it. And that's why if you see me hunting for words, it's because, how do I talk about this and have it make sense without giving away things that include other people? It's tough, being a loving, caring person can be tough sometimes. And especially if you don't have good boundaries, or, you don't really understand that it's okay to have boundaries. And believe me, it is. It's not a lack of love. In fact, sometimes it's more love to have boundaries, Enabling people is not a good thing. Enabling toxic behavior is not good. And, it is hard. For me, I'm not a huge authoritarian discipliner type of person. And it is hard to stand my ground, and I do get buttered up easily. And that's one thing that, my adult kids know about me. And that's why they think they can just do whatever they want. Not all of them. Not all of them are like that. But a couple of them think that they can just do whatever they want, and that there's no long-term ramifications. Mom will just be fine. She'll be fine. It'll be okay. And no, it's not okay, because it has lasting effects on my health and my mental well-being. And that's not okay. And my husband said, I'm going to have a heart attack or a stroke if this continues. And he wants me around. And I want to be around. And I don't want to be in a constant state of my cortisol levels spiking all the time and me feeling worse than I already feel. I want to find some peace, happiness, and joy in the midst of all my own stuff that I'm going through. And if I have had to live the consequences of my own actions, I don't want to live the consequences of other people's actions on a continual basis, right? Especially if they're not fighting for their own selves. And it kind of reminds me of somebody putting a paper brown bag of dog poo on your doorstep, ringing the doorbell, lighting it on fire, and then watching you as you're stepping on it to put it out. No thanks. People used to do that back in the olden days. You can't make your decision, say, I'm an adult, I can do whatever I want, and then expect other people to constantly rescue you, bail you out from the consequences. That is so unfair. And especially when it's so toxic. It's not okay. It's go live your life then if you want to make your own decisions and do your own things and live with the consequences on your own then. And that's just exactly what needs to happen. And that goes for any relationship, not just one type of relationship. So I just want somebody out there to know that might be struggling with something. It's not your shame. It's not a lack. You didn't fail. When you try your best, that's not failure. When you've given it your all, that's not failure. It's okay. You're not this is not your fault. We all make mistakes in life. And this isn't a get out of jail free card for people that are really fucked and they've done terrible things to their children, okay? You know, this is not me just like whitewashing that stuff and giving people an easy out. This is for people that have really tried and done their best and they're struggling. And you know, even if you did make a mistake or two, you know, every parent makes a mistake or two. If you've acknowledged it, taken personal responsibility, been accountable, that's every parent's done that. You know, like, we've all made a mess of something that we thought we were going to do right. But, I mean, it's not, some people will listen to this and be like, oh, I can be a shitty person. And, you know, no. You have to try your best. In my opinion, anyways. You can do whatever you want. Because that's one thing in life I've learned. People will do literally whatever they want. You can either take it or leave it, you know. That's why I jokingly say all the advice my adult kids do not want. You know, you don't have to listen to me. I can't force you to listen to me. I can't make you hear what I'm saying. And I'm not even saying that I'm 100% correct. But what I am saying and what I am doing is sharing my own experiences with the hope that it helps someone else that's going through a really tough time. Or has gone through a really tough time. Or will go through a really tough time. Because you never know what you're going to get. That's like having kids is like having a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. You know? You might have one kid that's a perfect angel and another kid that's a real shit. And, you know, that's just the way it is. Like, you never know what you're going to get. But I want to encourage you. And I want to tell you that it is okay to set boundaries. And again, this isn't just for adult kids. It's just what I'm particularly talking about. This is for anybody in your life. Boundaries is healthy. And if people aren't respecting your boundaries, then that's when it's time to walk away. Right? And it's not an ultimatum. There's a difference between an ultimatum and leaving a situation to protect your own peace. When you said, no, I've tried hard enough and I can't deal with this anymore. You know, there's a difference between giving somebody an ultimatum, because an ultimatum is manipulative. You're trying to force them to do your will and your bidding, you know, through heinous acts of withholding love or whatever. No. Sometimes you just simply have to walk away. It's not that you're withholding your love. You're like protecting your peace. You still love the person or the people, but you don't want to be involved in the chaos. And that's a healthy mindset. Otherwise, I've seen it. It just ends up in cycles of dysfunction, which is not good. Oh, my kidney is killing me for some reason. Oh, I feel like it got booted. But anyways, it's probably all the Advil I've been taking. Yeah, like I said, life isn't easy. It's a learning process. And I think that it's really important to share experiences because you don't know who you're going to help. You know, your life is kind of like a testimony. It can help other people get through hard times, enjoy the good times, appreciate what they have, you know, walk away from things that no longer serve them, and don't be afraid to admit that you were wrong about something. You know, that's where pride and ego takes out a lot of people, man. You know, I'm not afraid to admit that I was wrong about something. I'm not afraid to say, oh, okay, this does not serve me anymore, so I'm not going to deal with this. You know, like, you can't be afraid to admit you're wrong or that you made a mistake. Mistakes are where, like, people learn things. Some of the most successful people in the world that have made, like, millions of dollars, you know, success financially, they said that they went bankrupt more than one time. But the key and why they made it is because they didn't give up. There's ways to not give up. And then there's ways we have to learn to give up. You know, You don't give up because life is tough, but sometimes you have to walk away from people. Learning when it's like a losing battle. It's important to learn when to walk away. And then it's important also, like I said, to protect your peace. So I guess I just keep repeating myself, but I can't say it enough. And it is a hard process. Like I said, I'm grieving it. It's not easy. Like, it's kind of rough. But I've just gotten to the point where I realize now that you can't do good for people if you're not alive anymore. And stress kills, guys. Stress kills, dude. And you have to come to the point where, like, do you love yourself? Do you care about yourself? And I'm not talking about that me mentality, being selfish, because love requires sacrifice. But there comes a time where the sacrifices become redundant or not helpful or not really beneficial. You're not accomplishing anything. It's not doing anything. And that's when, like, it's just, you have to learn at what point, you give, but then at what point do you walk away? And that's the tough part to navigate, because many of us end up staying around much longer than we should. I mean, this isn't about trying for 5 seconds and throwing in the towel. I'm not suggesting that. But I mean, you have to know. You have to balance. I mean, you have to love yourself in a healthy way, not in a toxic way where you put your needs over everybody else's all the time. Like, you have to balance it. With everything, there's a balance. Loving yourself is important, but loving others is also important. But also, you can't love others to the point where you're not loving yourself. And I hope this makes sense. I hope that somebody's gotten something out of this tonight. I've hoped that, in the middle of my ongoing freaking life tragedy, that people can get something out of it that's good. And I think that's why I have to laugh and joke so much. Because, my life does tend to be a little bit more dramatic than I'd like. And that's why I'm trying to end some of the drama and walk away from things that aren't serving me and learn when to hang up the towel and say, I'm done. I need to preserve my peace, my sanity, my health to the best of my ability. And part of my problem and part of the issue is that I have, stayed in situations that are toxic for so long that it makes the health crash more. It's not good. And I hope that you guys can all learn to find the balance and not do those things. It's important. So with all that crazy, serious lecture mom thing going on, I'm going to probably end this pretty quick here because we're at the 43-minute mark, and this one has like a lot less jokes in it, but I hope that someone finds it beneficial and useful for them. And, like I said, don't be embarrassed. People will always judge you. They'll always judge your motivation. They'll always judge your actions. And it's always through a filter, a broken filter. I don't even get mad, because at the end of the day, I know what I've done. I know the decisions I've made, and I know the person I am. And you can't please everyone all the time. Somebody's always going to be upset with you. There's a saying, I love it. It says, we're all a villain in someone else's story. And I've had people get mad at me over that word villain. But I mean, it just basically means that, there's somebody out there that thinks that, you're a piece of crap. We all have been a villain to someone else at one point in our lives or another. None of us are perfect human beings. I'm not even going to pretend. I'm definitely not a perfect human being. And I don't think I'm Jesus, and I don't think I'm perfect, and I don't think that I'm a saint, and I don't think I'm better than anyone else. I often get accused of weird shit like that. Like, I don't know why. Oh, you just think you're so much better than everyone. You think you're so special. Well, actually, no, I don't. I don't think I know everything. I don't think I have everything figured out. I don't know why people misinterpret me to those levels. I have no idea. It's so bizarre. It kind of feels like they're gaslighting me. I don't know. I've never said that, and I certainly don't think I know everything. Like, the funny thing is that for me, the more that I learn, the more that I, challenge myself in any area, the more I realize I really know nothing. It's like the less I know, like, I don't know how to explain it, but that's literally how I feel. I feel like the more I learn, the less I know. And do I know a lot of things? Sure I do. I read a lot. I want to learn constantly because that's how my mind stays stimulated. Do I think I'm an expert? By no means. I don't. I don't think I'm an expert on anything. I'm just like a jack of all trades. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not a jack of all trades. Like, I don't even know what the word for it is. But I know a little bit of things about a lot of things. I know a little bit of things about a lot of things. Okay. Here's the chaos gremlin back. Leave you with some happy, jokey, I don't know, whatever. If you've made it this far, you're amazing. I think you're fabulous. Like, I don't know what to say. No matter what happens, it's hard to have that belief in yourself, but I believe in you and I know you can do it. Like, and that's all I got to say. I mean, life is really tough. And the reason why I share the things that I do share is because at the end of the day, like I said, if we can do good for someone else, if we can help someone else through a really tough time, it's all worth it in the end. I mean, I love that quote, be the change you wish to see in the world. I wish the world was more loving. I wish the world was more caring. I wish the world was more, fair, and I just want to be, the type of person that, makes a difference, whether it's with one person or 100. I just want to do or say something that is meaningful for someone else because I know how valuable it is to get a tool I never had, I mean, you can spend your whole life and, people will tell you to do something and you have no idea how to get there. How do I do this? Like, what do I do? What do I need to do? Lacking life tools is a really crappy thing to have, like to be lacking in certain tools. And some people take them for granted. They just know. Like it's an automatic thing. Well, I just knew that. Well, not everybody's born into the world knowing the same things. We all have something value to share with another person. And my whole thing is it's not self-help. I'm not some self-help guru with all the answers. Okay. Like I'm just some crazy person that's lived a really tough life. And, I laugh and joke and, be silly and crazy just to get through it. 'Cause life is short and I want to have fun. As bad as things can get sometimes, we don't all have an easy life. Some of us have to go through some really shitty shit. Some of us go through a little bit of shit and then have a happy life. Whatever your circumstances are, I think there's there's a reason to be joyful in all circumstances. Sounds like a Hallmark commercial, but it's true. I think that no matter how tough life can be, and, it can be tough sometimes, for some of us a lot of times, but no matter what you're going through, life can be worth it, not can be, it is worth it. And while there's still breath, there's hope, there's life. 'Cause if there's breath, that means there's life. That's what my husband says to me all the time. And so I just wanted to be that, encourager for you. And I hope that, like I said, somebody got something valuable out of my rambling, my midnight madness rambling. And, I'll talk to you guys again soon when I'm probably, feeling a little better about everything that's going on right now. And I hope you all have a good night, morning, day, wherever you are in the world. And I'll leave you with that and see you again next time for your favorite Not a Podcast guest. Okay, bye for now.